What is up, YouTube? I hope you're all having a good week so far, and this has been a highly requested video to talk about the Guild War defenses, and I know a lot of you have been waiting for it, so I apologize guys for making you guys wait so long. I'll be getting into defenses overall and what makes a defense, quote-unquote meta, and how you can build a stronger defense and how to learn and adapt from your losses if a defense doesn't work, and how you can utilize Fribbels Epic 7 Guild War Meta Tracker when building a defense. Special shout out to Fribbels for allowing me to include their content in the video. The links will be in the description below. And a full disclosure, I am not the best Guild War defense player at all by any means. Alright, I'm a product of my environment, so shout out to Talentless. This is a very lengthy topic at hand, and I might miss a thing or two, and if I do, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you and maybe make a part 2 to cover the topics that maybe you feel I missed. And as always, please drop a like and comment below as it really helps me with the algorithm. And without further ado, let's jump straight into the action and talk about the Guild War defenses. And now, as I mentioned in the introduction, defenses is a very lengthy topic and it may be never ending. So I'm going to try to break these into different segments, as you can see here. And first segment is, what makes these defenses good that you can see in the Fribbels Epic 7 Guild War Meta Tracker. And I'm going to take a look at some of the most popular defenses that we see and break them down and give you guys a few examples. So let's start with that. Now, talking about the defenses and what makes them good, first example we're going to bring up is Conquer Lilius, Kayron, and Shu. Now, upon first glance, you may be thinking, well, Conquer Lilius is basically just a opener, Shu is on a counter unit, maybe Snow Crystal, and Kayron, maybe on a PvP for the most part, is going to be on a counter build, right? Now, what makes these defenses good? Number one, gear gap. Obviously, if you rank 100, you somehow match into rank number 1, 2, 5, maybe 7, you might just get gear gapped, right? You might bring the perfect units, you might think these are the best gear that you have at the moment, but you just die because you get gear gap. It is what it is, that's kind of part of the game, and that's why there's ranks and tiers, and obviously rank 100 is not going to match into rank 3 or 5 or 7. But if we take that out of the equation and we think about why else would it make this defense good? Well, there's traps. Now, what are traps, right? Obviously, as I mentioned, opener, Silius, counter Shu, these are traditional builds. This is in reference to how a unit would be built if you, went to the Epic 7 official Discord or, Elva Mage's Discord and look at, oh, how do I build Shu or how do I build Conquer Lilius, right? This is the traditional mentality of that, oh, these units, you assume their build. And why the win rate percentages in the tracker are not 100% is because there are going to be unconventional builds that people are going to run to try to beat your offense, right? A good example of this is, let's look at the highest one. Let's look at Lionheart's Hermia, Pillis, and Roanna. If I'm going to be trapping this, right, I'm going to have Conquer Lilius on a standard build. I'm going to put Music Box so I can get random buffs, maybe continuous healing, maybe it's defense buff, barrier, great artifact. On Shu, we're going to maybe put them, let's say, on injury, because counter set obviously isn't really going to do much for you. Maybe it will, because if you can gear gap them if your counter gear is amazing, you could probably gear gap them, for sure. But you could maybe try exploring injury build. Maybe you have Symbol of Unity, and you just proc onto the Roanna and crit her twice and potentially kill her after Kayron S3s. And obviously Kayron can just be on a nuke build that can kill Roanna on turn 1, even through Aureus, because you can put a Lexus Basket, right? If you were to run into that defense, and those were the builds that person was using, well, I guess you're just shit out of luck, right? And that's why unconventional builds will win and impact the win rate percentages in the tracker, which then will, pop up showing, oh my god, this is like a meta defense, and that's what makes this good, obviously, right? But that's only one example. I do definitely want to go into a second example, so let's hop right into that. Now, moving into our second defense we're going to be covering, alright? This is probably the most popular that you guys have seen a bajillion times, but it's going to be the Rand, Senya, Lilius team. And why this defense is so strong, obviously, is because there was a hero change, and Lilius was reworked, so her S3 only requires 50% crit chance. Ancient Dragon Legacy, the artifact for Mort, got revamped, and she can stack a ton of damage now, whereas before she couldn't, right? This is not how she worked before. And so obviously, with the hero change, with an artifact change, new defenses are going to erupt and pop into the meta. This is the most prominent one, and this is probably what causes the most problems for everyday player, right? Obviously, Rand can be on a bajillion different builds, right? He could be on Silver Rain, he could be on RNL, he can be on Alabastron for extra damage. sorry, not damage, effectiveness. He can be on Sword of Winter Shadow to just, take your souls away. There's a multiple variety of Rans that you can build with this defense. Now, more importantly, what is going to make this defense so strong? You're not going to be able to cleave it, right? Because Ran is going to be, maybe it's 310, 305, 315, maybe 320, right? Maybe it kills off your squishy units, right? Maybe you just get outsped, even with an imprint. Senya, obviously, it can be Unholy Sacrifice. You can't cleave it. It's not safe, right? And obviously, Fire Lilius, if you do any non-attack skills, for example, if you do Inferno Kawazu and you don't have immunity exclusive equipment, you may lose right away because you get provoked and you may die, right? So, just as I mentioned, in that 45 seconds, there's a bajillion reasons why this defense is very good. And if we were to just take a look and see why the most popular defense loses, here is Christie, Justina, and Arya. You're thinking probably, well, Arya just needs enough resistance to not get death broken, and that's fine. Well, guess what? You can have a 250 effectiveness Ran with Alabastron and get an extra 35%. And if you do get death broken, which you most likely will, and that Lilius rips into you with Symbol of Unity, and you're probably dead, right? You're more than likely dead, and that's probably why there are these losses, right? Is because there are unconventional builds, because people are setting traps, because people are adjusting their defenses, and you should too, right? And if you are looking for inspiration in building a defense, I gotta say, this is probably the top one you guys should be putting on, because I guarantee you, in 1 week, you'll definitely get some shields. I promise you. But anyway, let's look into the third defense of today. For our third example of today, we're going to be talking about the Amid, Kisei, and Senya defense. Now, I don't think I really need to explain how to set a trap in anything anymore, because I think I sound like a broken record. But let's just talk about the example we have here in front of us, right? You have Paultus, Celine, and Lone Crescent Bellona. Now, this offense, there's an inherent problem with it, which I hope you guys can distinguish, is that this is assuming that the Amid moves first. Now, in most cases, as I mentioned, traditional builds, Amid does move first. But unconventional builds and where you're going to want to get defenses and win on defense is make your Kisei go first. Make it go 300 speed Kisei, maybe 295 Kisei, maybe even 280 Kisei. That's on Alexis Basket or Symbol of Unity. And make your Amid slow, right? Make her Giga Tanky. Make sure your Kisei has enough damage to kill the Paultus, and even if the Celine gets a turn, right? If Amid pushes, and it pushes the Kisei, guess what? It goes into skill null, she's still hidden. You're just gonna lose if she's on Symbol of Unity. You just lose. There's really nothing you can really do. And you can see this reflected, right? You can see the Paultus Celine is not very consistent. You almost lose 10% of the time. That's very high. And when you're attacking and when you're setting a defense, you want to be unpredictable, right? Maybe in one war, you're going to make a 300 Kisei. Maybe the next one, you're going to make a 300 Amid. Change it up a little bit, right? Because the person that's attacking and they look at your defense history, they're thinking, oh, well, this guy's Paultus died. This Kisei must have went first. But then now that you have that information, you can kind of play mind games, right? Then you can change your defense and make Kisei go first, or Senya go first, or Amid go first. Change it up so that you can get some defense wins there, right? So hopefully that makes sense, and I'm not sounding like a broken record. But let's move over into chapter 2. Now, where do these defenses come out from? Like, they just appear out of nowhere. Obviously, as you guys know, on June 8th, Smilegate did roll out a balance adjustment, and here are the heroes, obviously, as you can see, that were affected by the changes, and the artifacts that were also changed, right? Now, notably, none of these were actually Guild War defense units, but you can see that Sword of Winter Shadow had been changed, so now it takes away a lot more souls. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what if you have Winter instead of on Secret Art Storm Sword? You can have Thieves that can steal souls now that have non-attack skills, right? What if you have Spirit Eye Celine that's on a speed build that has Sword of Winter Shadow, right? Usually it's balance adjustments, it is artifact adjustments, it's new heroes coming into the game like Amid, like Aiden popping out from Adventure, limited heroes like Benny Maru, Milam with new exclusive equipments. Obviously there's Summer Break Charlotte coming out on a limited banner again, that's just come by. All of these are reasons as to why new defenses do come out and pop out of nowhere. But hopefully that gives you guys better insight as to why. And honestly, I don't think this was too important, but I figure if we're going to talk about defense, we might as well talk about everything. So we'll move over to chapter 3. Alrighty guys, so I am actually going to be going on my alt account, which is currently in Hot Pot, and we are rank number 15. And I am in a fort, so some of this defense information is going to be relative, and hopefully you guys can relate to it. I apologize, I can't show you guys my main since I'm in the stronghold, and I really can't be putting that type of information out. I hope you guys can understand, but I guess Hot Pot gets shafted. But anyway, chapter number 4 is going to be, number 3, we're building a strong defense. Now, as I mentioned in the previous clips, we do want to have a defense which we can win. So let's focus on round number 2 first. As you can see, it's the Ran Lilia Senya defense, and we have a 305 Ran. So as I mentioned before, we're going to go for a RNL Ran. If you're on a tower, I'd probably do Sword of Winter Shadow, or maybe Symbol of Unity, or Shepherd of the Hollow, Proof of Valor, all very good artifacts you can run on a Trap Ran. Now, we are going to want to have some effectiveness on Ran, because if he has no effectiveness and he can't land anything, what's the point of even having him on the board? So I'm just going to put my Lure Ring on him for now, and perhaps I'll tweak it later, but just for the sake of time, I am going to run this for now. For my Fire Lilius, I'm going to make sure my S3 is Max Mola, and I have Torrent set on her. Personally, I think she's in a okay spot. She does very good damage, and I can pop with the damage calculations if they're def broken up right now. And we're going to be running Portrait just to put in as much damage as possible. I actually, you know what? On second thought, why don't we do Symbol? So we're going to do Symbol. And then on Senya, we're going to have Warhorn, 6.6k attack to have as much attack as possible. With the Heal EE, just in case we need a 1v1 Aria or something like that. With Pen Set, totally copium having Pen Set, but if you can squeeze it in, you might as well. So that round 2, I feel pretty happy with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments up below about the round 2. For round 1, we currently have Amid. I want to maybe move off of Amid. Why don't we try to make a defense that's kind of like Conquer Lilius. Now, Conquer Lilius is on a bit of a slower build, so we're going to try to just put some of my faster gear on her. So Amid has some of my faster gear, so let's give the Amid gear over and see how that looks. 295 with... You can go one more piece, so maybe we take this one. So 297, I'll say it's good enough. 297 is close enough to 300 on Nostalgic Music Box. And yeah, pretty happy with the Conquer Lilius. And for my other 2 units, I want to look through my roster and see, okay, what units will have some decent synergies. I think Landy is okay. We are on a Guiding Light build, on a relatively tanky build. I have wanted to see how good Spirit Eye Celine will work with her new builds, and I do have her on Lifesteal at the moment. Maybe she won't work, so why don't we go ahead and give Kayron a try. We could do Kayron. Yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied with this. Kayron Landy. Now let's run a Alexis Basket on Kayron. And now most people were probably gonna want to do like Bunny Dom, Milim, and I guess Wanda, but they probably don't have Wanda geared, so I don't have to worry about that. They're probably going to do Lionheart. So if they do Lionheart Sermia, and I have my S3, S2, Landy goes S3, Kayron gets Gab and Vigor and kills Rowena, and then it's 2v3 going into the Lionheart Sermia and the Pillis. Okay, I'm okay with that. So let's give that a try. I know it sounds like I'm talking a lot, but obviously in this clip, the main focus I have is trying to have you guys hear my thought process and how I build a defense, what I'm thinking about, what are the potential offenses that they might run, what is a 100% win rate against my defense going to look like. Obviously, my Milim is very tanky, right? You have to keep in mind, my Landy is extremely tanky, right? So you can see that she is 1500 defense, 14.5k HP on Guiding Light. And not only that, the Conquer Lilius is going to give us a barrier, and we could also get defense buff here, right? So if we get defense buff and that Milim doesn't kill us, we're in a pretty good spot. So keep that in mind, because Bunny Dom is going to give us empowered S3 on Landy. But anyways, I won't talk too much. I won't go any further into this. I think this clip is long enough. But hopefully you guys get an idea of how I think when building a defense, even if it's something as simple as that within 5 minutes. So build your defenses. Let's go. Alright, so chapter number 4 is going to be talking about different unique builds that you can run on defense. Now, upon first glance, I have ran Summertime Mysteria and BBK on defense. Now, I'm going to pop up the number 1 attack offense team used on Fribbels, which is right now. And as you can see, it is Crow, Rimuru, and Inferno Kawazu. And it makes sense, right? Summertime Mysteria has debuffs, Rimuru can take the immunity from the Ran, Inferno Kawazu can strip the BBK's immortality, even if it's an ER BBK, very comfortably, 100%, right? It ignores ER. Now, the build I'm going to be running that's unique is I'm going to have Ran on RNL, which is pretty normal, standard stuff. And with enough effectiveness to potentially land the Death Breaks and Stigma and whatnot. And we have Summertime Mysteria on a relatively standard build, but the only thing that's different is we're going to be running Spatial Temporal Fan. Now, if you do a non-attack skill, for those that are not familiar, if you run a non-attack skill, you have a 75% chance to grant stealth to your basically highest attack unit. Now, who's the highest attack unit going to be? Well, in this case, it's going to be BBK, right? Now, BBK, we are going to be putting her also on a Secret Art Storm Sword so that she can get the CR push from the Inferno Kawazu, but also she has attack buff now, right? If we didn't have the attack buff, the Ran's going to go into stealth, which is not what we want, right? Now that we have BBK in stealth and we have her on ER, now guess what? Inferno Kawazu basically cannot kill the BBK. If the Crow is death broken, if the Rimuru is death broken, if the Inferno Kawazu is, obviously he won't be death broken because he cleanses. But if those other two units are death broken and we have attack buff on BBK and we rip an S3, we could potentially kill and just ruin the entire team, right? So see how it might not always be, moving 600,000 worth of gold to, shift gear around. Sometimes it's just changing an artifact to change the way the battle is going to pan out. And you look at a defense and try to play around what is considered, safe on the Guild War tracker, right? Hopefully that gives you guys some inspiration in building your own defenses. But moving over into chapter 5. Now, in chapter 5, we are going to be talking about towers versus forts and strongholds. Now, the key difference, as you guys probably already know, is that forts and strongholds are going to have a lot more HP. And towers only have 200 HP, which means that if you go to 0, you get 120. If you draw, you only get 60. And if it's 200 minus 60 means 140, which means you're putting your guild at a very big disadvantage, because now instead of 2 people clearing 1 tower, you need 3 people to clear that tower, which is basically not very good. Now, obviously in Stronghold, you can draw 1 time. In Stronghold, you can draw 1 time as well. It will not impact, it won't be considered an impact loss. And what an impact loss is really just means that it'll impact the guild, because your total amount of points that you can gain or acquire it becomes not at 100%, which is 14,200. I won't get too deep into it. If you guys want to talk more, we can just discuss in the comments. But honestly, it's basically just don't int on the small towers. If you're gonna int in the fort as the first person. But if possible at all, just don't int. Follow my videos and don't int. Yeah, let's carry on. And last but not least, chapter 6 and 7. Now, we've kind of covered chapter 6 and 7 quite a bit, which is the thought process that goes in when building a strong defense. And honestly, I hope that throughout this video, you guys have been able to kind of learn some of these things and pick up on some of the habits that I personally have and a lot of people that I know have when building defenses. But to kind of end it all off, I am gonna go maybe just show off one more defense when I'm trying to think of what's a strong defense, right? Now, this is on the left hand side. You can see that this is going to be a very old defense that you guys probably have seen before, right? I assume the Conqueror Lilius, Rimuru, and Mercedes. And the most common offense people are going to be using is Apoc Ravi, Crow, and Ruel, or maybe Crow, Rowana, and Lionheart Sermia, or Apoc, or something like that, right? Now, what we have built here is I have Conqueror Lilius on Warhorn, basically some bulk, as much speed as possible, but with Warhorn, you'll see why in a minute. We want to have attack team imprint, which is really, really good, and one of the reasons why she's super top tier in Guild War defense. And we're going to have Mercedes at 216 speed, because we know that these two offenses that I'll put on screen are relatively slow. They're not going to be contesting the first turn whatsoever. So with the fact that A Ravi might be the fastest unit and we push her back, the Mercedes is here to basically provide attack buff to our Rimuru. And as you can see here, our Rimuru is going to be on Draco Plate on a full destruction set on penetration. So that means he's going to have vigor and attack buff. And if I throw up the damage calculations on screen right now, on a 1800, 1900 defense Crow, that Crow is dead. And as soon as this Rimuru analyze and assess, it's gonna kill it a second time, which means we're gonna be playing 2v3 very quickly. And the fact that Conquer Liz is gonna be pulling a lot of dual attacks into the Aravi means that they're gonna be in a lot of pain, right? But obviously, if you only had like a standard, 20k HP Rimuru, a counter Meru, it's obviously not going to do very good on defense. So if you have the proper tuning and you have some thought process going into how you want to approach these offenses that people will be bringing into your defense, it'll take you a really long way in making stronger defenses. And I promise you, if you implement some of these things that we've kind of gone over in the video, your defense win rate is going to skyrocket, I hope. And if it doesn't, don't blame me, but let us carry on. Alrighty guys, so that is going to do it for today's Guild War defense video. Hopefully you guys were able to take away a thing or two about defenses, and hopefully you can implement some of these tips and tricks and I guess thought processes, and maybe even just defense ideas into your guys' defense, and maybe double or triple your win rate. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this type of content, please drop a like and comment below, as it really helps me with the algorithm. I know I've told you guys this a bajillion times, but it really does help, so thank you guys. And well, we're gonna make that scout video soon. Katie's only episode 3 will be coming out, and obviously our Guild War videos will continue. If you guys have any other video recommendations or ideas, please drop a comment below so I know. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for your support. Take care. Bye.